In 1986, downtown Cleveland became the stage for one of the most ambitious and ultimately disastrous publicity stunts in American history. The plan? Release a staggering 1.5 million balloons into the sky. It was supposed to be a heartwarming charity fundraiser and a bold move to put Cleveland on the map. But instead of going down in history as an awe-inspiring spectacle, it became a fatal disaster. The event, called Balloon Fest, was Cleveland's attempt at a makeover. The city was battling a rough reputation, famously known as the mistake on the lake. Determined to shed this image, city leaders aimed to show the world that Cleveland was on the rise and ready for the spotlight. The inspiration came from Disneyland, which had recently set a Guinness World Record for the biggest simultaneous balloon launch. Cleveland officials decided the best way to boost their city's image was to outdo Disneyland itself. Backed by the United Way of Cleveland, the team began planning a massive launch of nearly 1.5 million balloons. It took 6 months of intense preparation. A net the size of a city block was constructed to contain the balloons, and thousands of volunteers worked tirelessly to fill them. By September 27, 1986, the big day had arrived. While downtown Cleveland buzzed with excitement, something ominous was happening just east on Lake Erie. The night before, a severe storm had passed through the area. Despite the weather, 2 men had gone fishing and never returned. That morning, their families reported them missing. Their boat was later found abandoned, leading authorities to suspect they had been thrown overboard during the storm. The Coast Guard immediately launched a search and rescue mission. Back in Cleveland's public square, more than 100,000 spectators gathered to witness what was expected to be a history-making moment. The skies had cleared, and the mood was electric. But as the hours passed, the weather began to shift again. Rain clouds loomed. With all the balloons already filled and ready, postponing the launch was no longer an option. So the balloons were released, early. It was a breathtaking sight. Over 1.5 million colorful balloons soared into the sky in a dazzling display. For a brief moment, it felt like Cleveland had pulled off something incredible. But that triumph didn't last. The plan had been for the helium-filled balloons to float gently into the sky, slowly deflate, and fall back to Earth over time. Instead, cold air and the incoming rain pushed the still inflated balloons back down to the ground. By the tens of thousands. Chaos followed. Balloons clogged Burke Lakefront Airport's runways, forcing flight suspensions. Streets were covered in balloons, triggering multiple car accidents and requiring bulldozers to clear the roads. Out on Lake Erie, the Coast Guard's rescue mission was now nearly impossible. Balloons blanketed the water, making it nearly impossible to spot the missing men or even a life jacket. One rescuer described it as trying to find a needle in a haystack. 2 days later, the Coast Guard called off the search. Soon after, the bodies of the missing fishermen washed ashore. Balloon Fest made it into the 1988 edition of the Guinness Book of World Records, but that was the last time. The event was so controversial and tragic that Guinness quietly retired the category of balloon launches altogether. Balloon Fest was meant to be a moment of pride. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of what happens when spectacle overshadows safety and planning.